I'm Kerry Rowett, and this is the Align and Attract podcast, helping you to create your version of an aligned business. Let's dive into today's episode, doing business and life brilliantly with Leonie Dawson. I'm so thrilled to have Leonie back on the podcast today, and she's coming in hot with some really great advice for different stages of business, including when you're just wanting to start a side hustle, and that could be a side hustle in addition to your job or outside of your family life or in addition to your current business. I've also asked her advice if you're wanting to attract more clients in your business and when you are hitting up against like more of a maxed out stage where you might be seeing a lot of one-on-one clients and you're wanting to grow from there. And then as well, like once you have a more successful business, what is her advice for people at that stage? So I think you'll find the advice she gives is so incredibly tangible and helpful. And she also references some of the courses and workshops which you can find inside her brilliant Business and Life Academy. If you are already a member, then you're going to love it because you'll be able to be like, okay, I'm at this point in business. This is a course or a workshop I haven't checked out yet. I'm going to go do that. If you're not already a member, now is the perfect time to join. At the time that this episode is released, Leonie's Brilliant Business and Life Academy is only $99 US for an entire year. And that includes like ongoing new workshops, new courses, new content, as well as everything that's already in there. And the price is going up on the 30th of November. So I'll have the link for you in the show notes. So just check that out and you can join. If you're listening after the 30th of November, it's equally no big deal because you can still join and the price is only $199 USD. So I just love the way Leonie has made this a very conscious choice, which she talks about in this episode actually, to price at that point. And one of the reasons is she just loves having an impact on thousands of people and being able to say like, I'm just giving you everything, and it's so incredibly generous, and you can dive in and immerse yourself in all of this content. And it's, you know, all these skills and trainings that Leonie herself has used to build her multi-million-dollar business, and she's helped countless other people as well. So if you're not in there, I just know that you're going to love it. I was a member when she had the academy previously. Then when she closed that academy and released individual courses, I bought the majority of those. And then when she reopened the academy, I joined that again. So I've also worked privately with Leonie. Like I'm definitely a really big Leonie fan, and as Leonie shares, like she's been a client of mine long term as well. So I cannot wait to hear about your takeaways, and I just know that you can take something very like solid and tangible out of this episode and use that to grow your own business. So please do come across to Instagram. You can share with me at Kerry Rowett. You can share with Leonie at Leonie Dawson. I'll put the links to both of those in the show notes as well. And I can't wait to hear what you're going to do next. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome, Leonie.
Oh, I love you, Kerry. And I also love that we get to like talk to each other just so much.
I know, we are so lucky. I'm so delighted to have you on the podcast today. And this is the third time you have been on, which is super special. And today I just wanted to kick off by asking, how is life and business right now for you?
Oh, you know what? I think this year's been like just really full of intensity for me this year. And like there's been so many, it's like a growth year for me, I would say, like an internal growth year. And I've really had to come into like shifting a whole bunch of my mindset, both in my business and in my life. So in my business, I wanted to like expand the business even more. And I was like hitting up against some of my own inner blocks, which I've worked with you extensively with, which I'm very grateful for. Everyone, you should hire Kerry. Um, and then like personally as well, like I'm just in a different stage. We had a very elderly dog with high needs for most of this year, and she just passed away last week. And there's a little bit of relief in that, but then there's an enormous amount of grief as well because we've had this little puppy for so long. And she just taught me so many lessons this year, particularly about how to cultivate more patience and compassion and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a big growth year, but I'm very grateful for it.
Mm. I think what you're speaking about there, like those different types of challenges, and then just that opportunity
Mm.
that that can give us to
Mm.
create that growth, can't it? We can just see it as, oh my God, this has just been a nightmare of a time, or, you know, or difficult in certain ways.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people have experienced that with 2023 actually is like a lot of
Mm.
people have thought, oh, we're good, we're back to normal, everything's back to normal. And then there's been some headwinds in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just keep on turning up and saying, okay, well, what do I need to evolve into next? What can I shift into next in order to be made softer and lovelier by this experience and even more of myself? I think a lot about kind of my elders. So I had three wise women elders when I was growing up. And they lived into their 90s and hundreds, and they were just such blessings. And I see how, life had some really hard times for them. And it just made them softer and lovelier and more compassionate and more joyful. And I want the same for me. So I just kept on praying, like, please, what would you have me say? What would you have me do differently? How would you, like, what's a new perspective I can have for the highest light and good of all? And that's been kind of just a real mainstay for me this year. I think it's helped tremendously.
So beautiful. And I think for everyone listening, like whether or not you're going through like difficult times or moments right at the moment, it's just that beautiful invitation opportunity to ask yourself when those moments do hit, which they do for everyone.
Mm.
It's like, what is going to be my mainstay? Like, what's my opportunity, or what's the energy that I want to lean into? Because that's just choosing your perspective, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you could choose to see that totally differently, but you've chosen to see it as at a certain business level, like maybe it's around $50,000 to $100,000, where it's like, yep, it's a business, it's making money, but now I need to grow it. And then once someone is a lot more established. So that's where I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to ask your advice, and I can't wait to hear what you say about that. But before we get there, I want to know, like, what made you decide to go back to this model where it's just like you get everything? I know it's related. Of course, it was a divine download, but I know it's related to a lot of your beliefs around like inclusivity and accessibility. And, it's such a contrast to what we otherwise see in the space, which I certainly myself see a lot of, buy this $10,000 mastermind or program and I'll help you get to six figures, which is like hard to make sense of in my brain, but go on. Tell us.
Yeah. Like, so first and foremost, it's just a personality fit. Like I always say, like, how much you charge is like, there's no such thing as good or bad. And it works really beautifully, like for different people to have different price points. And I buy at very different price points, depending on what I'm needing at the time. For me, what I've discovered over the years is I really, really love serving lots and lots of people. At a lower price point. It just makes me really happy. I just like it. And I like having more people. I would much rather teach 1,000 people than teach 10 people. If 10 people paid me like $10,000 instead of 1,000 people at $100, like I'm always going to prefer that 1,000 people. So I like that part of it. It just, everything feels like it flows better for me. And then of course, at a certain point, I offered the academy at $99 for a year and wasn't planning on increasing the prices. And then again, the download hits and it's like, no, it's time. You need to raise it. It's got to double the price to $199 a year. And that's the right thing to take. So like, fuck, okay. I just told people last month that, like, I was like, no, I'm never going to increase my price. And then I was like, oh, okay.
I believe you may have said that to me as well. I'm not increasing my prices. Yeah, so it is just that personal preference. And I love even what you said there around like just neutralizing that energy around price. So even what I said, there was perhaps a little bit of judgment, but I was really speaking about like high prices for people who are very early stages of business. But overall, pricing is just pricing, isn't it?
And I've got some friends who like really prefer like dealing with a smaller group at a higher price point, and they love developing those like real one-to-one relationships, and they do a brilliant job at it. It's just not my skill set at all, and it's not what brings me joy.
Yeah, so there's just something in there for everyone listening to think about for yourself. Is just like you've got your current pricing if you've already got your business going. And it's like, does that feel really resonant? Or if you were to choose, would you prefer to go for bigger numbers of people and to have some more accessible price points, so like in group programs or offerings? Or are you wanting that more exclusivity, like you particularly love working one-on-one? And do you want to actually then get more comfortable with increasing that price point as well? So let's give all the advices now.
I do want to say, anytime anybody asks me about pricing stuff as well, I always recommend they read your book, because I think it's just so important that you are in alignment with the amount you're charging for, because if you feel shit about it, you're just not going to promote it. So it's got to be in alignment.
It's so true, because if your pricing is too low, like if it's too low for what you feel resonant with, there can be that feeling of resentment that creeps in, or you might really desire to have really low accessible pricing. But if you haven't learned the marketing skills yet, or you don't have a big enough community to sell to, it just may not actually be a viable model for you at this point in time. And so that's either, we either need to increase our resonance within charging more, or increase our ability to build out our community and market better. Yeah. And then as well, if you're feeling like you're charging too much, like you say, you're just not going to promote it. And as soon as someone asks you a question about pricing, you'll be like, oh, you want to give them a discount, or you're backing away from your pricing and you're feeling like you're having to like justify it. It just doesn't feel resonant, or you're just not attracting enough people at that particular price point, again, to make that really a viable opportunity for you.
And it changes over time, and like sometimes you do have to like come up against your own blocks. Like when it came to like increasing my prices, like I had to have a huge session with you and I was about to have a fucking breakdown and I was like a real bitch on that call. I was just like, well, it's not easy that, Perry. Like I was
Nobody
just,
can imagine this of Leonie.
I know, but like I do get really grumpy. And because of the work you do and I feel safe with you, I'm like, well, I just don't like that.
Yeah. I think it's important to state that, like, for everyone who might have a successful business and they might be so put together and show such tremendous leadership external facing, sometimes you do need that place where you can just have a bit of a meltdown, or you can be a bit grumpy about your own blocks and your own baggage and the ways you're holding yourself back. And it's like, it's actually just really annoying.
Mm-hmm. And it's also like, I was like, oh, so that's nice, Carrie. I just changed like, my complete DNA of how I'm made up and changed like my whole perspective on life that I've only had for 40 years. Like, oh, like I'll just like not have this coping strategy anymore. Because you were like, oh, what if you did this without like overcompensating and overworking and overfixating? And I was like, that's all I've got, girl. Like, why are you trying to take them away from me?
I like over fixating. What are you talking about? It's so true.
Am I going to underdo things? Disgusting.
And then what was so fascinating, if you don't mind me saying, is we had that call where you were feeling all the feels, and you came onto the call and it arose like, is this an opportunity? Do you want to do this? And you're like, definitely not, blah, blah, blah. But you eventually came to the conclusion yourself, actually, that you wanted to do that. And then after the call, what did you go ahead and do?
Just immediately doubled, just immediately sent out the announcement. I was like, I just have to jump on it. And like, I was just like, I had so much like inner stuff that was going on, even though all of the signs were pointing to, you need to raise the price. And I was like, yeah, it's for everyone else.
Yeah.
And then like, going through the work with you, I'm like, oh shit, okay, no, I'm good now. I get it now. And feeling good with that and aligned was just revolutionary.
And it wasn't like it then came with push, right?
No, just it's been pretty seamless.
It was just totally seamless. And all of a sudden you're rolling it out and I'm seeing it everywhere and getting emails about it and seeing it on social media. It's like, well, I guess that session really resolved.
Right? Just that cranky cow. It's so funny. It's so great. I mean, it's testament to your work.
Oh, thank you. So let's dive into the advice. So if somebody is like in that side hustle, they've got these like interests or passions, or they've got this curiosity, or they're wanting to create something, or they have created something, and they're like, I want to start testing this. I really want to test that this can be a viable thing, and I can start to build out this additional income stream in my life. So perhaps it's jewelry, perhaps it's tarot on the side, or it's just might be any number of things. You want to start selling a particular product. So if somebody has got that, desire in their heart, where would you recommend that they start, or what do you recommend they do with that?
Oh, there's a bunch of different ways they could go in the academy. So, if you're not quite sure, there's a program called How to Decide What Business to Do. And that's just a masterclass on that. If you need to set up like little foundationals about, how to set up your website, how to set up a mailing list, how to do sane and profitable social media marketing, how to create newsletters, all that stuff. We have workshops, like tech stuff on all of those ones. And then I always, always, always recommend as well, people start on Sales Star, which is, to me, I'm going to say Sales Star for every area of business, like every level of business, because the more you upgrade your sales and marketing skills, it will make a massive difference.
Yes, I love that. So allowing yourself to get those foundational pieces in place and knowing that you can find those foundational pieces inside the academy. So it doesn't mean you have to go and buy like $1,000 course on this or a $500 course on that. You can just come into the academy and there's like just these workshop exercises that you can move through, and it's like, yeah, take action, take action, take action. And I think sometimes, you can tell me what you think about this, but bringing something to market and getting it out there sort of as within reason, as quickly as you can, it's like that's how you learn, and that's how you test the viability of ideas and offers.
Yeah, it's really like when you're in that space, it's the only way you can find out if it works is not more market research. It's just doing it, putting it out there, and like keep on amplifying it, keep trying new things. Like I tried millions of different little things when I was starting out my business. Like I did wedding photography, and I have a 100% divorce rate on every wedding I photograph. So if you want a divorce, hire me.
Oh my God.
Worst ad ever. Okay, no, and like I've done other things, like I did life coaching, I ran like spiritual retreats for 3 days at a beautiful place. It was just anything that I felt called to. I sold art at markets and on Etsy, all the things. So it was just playing, and then just trying out, what do I love? And each way, like I'd learn new skills and be like, oh, that felt good, but I didn't like this, that. People have worked that out. And so we could just learn whatever it is they know about business and marketing and make it happen for ourselves. And so I like dedicated myself to learning about business and marketing and building up those muscles instead of just my creative and spiritual muscles,
Yeah, I want to add something to that. Like it's speaking to the growth mindset of just understanding wherever it is that you are at is literally just your starting point. So it's not the case you are good at business or you aren't, or you are good at sales or you aren't. It is the case that you develop those abilities and capacities through learning and through doing it.
Yes. And like if you'd met me as a kid, like nobody would have gone like, wow, that kid's going to be a brilliant businessman who's good with money and numbers. Like, no, I was just some rando just picking my nose and looking up trees and going, oh, isn't it beautiful? Like absolute airy fairy. And if I didn't learn those skills, I still would be that person. On some level, I still am, obviously, but I can deal with
As
it.
with making a lot more sales, right?
That's
And
right.
impacting on a lot more people. And so let's move on to like, what if someone's at the stage of business where they're like, I want to attract more clients. So I see this quite a lot, with practitioners and coaches and things like that, where they're past the side hustle, they've got some kind of viability, but it's just not making enough money. And if they could attract more clients at this point in their business, or more clients to like a workshop or to a class they want to teach, that is what would make the difference. So what do you recommend?
Sales star. Absolutely. I still like sales star is just so comprehensive and it's like a foundational piece. And I was selling it for like $300 and you can get it for $99 a year now. But one, you've got to get really good at sales pages. You've got to make sure that you're adding in so many elements so people can trust you. And so that includes testimonials, it includes expert status, it includes like the benefits, it includes why people would come to you, what differences they're going to see afterwards, and social proof, why they should trust you to give you money. So I give you like checklists of exactly what you need to include on your website and on your sales pages and in your sales emails, even in your social media copy, to actually start attracting those people. You also want to be looking at where are the missing pieces? So we've got like a workshop just on testimonials. So if you don't know how to like collect and gather testimonials and reuse them, then you can like go into there. If you're not regularly sending out a newsletter, you can go into there. If you don't have a lead magnet, you can go into there. We also have the 2-page marketing plan, which is very, very simple, but very, very powerful about how to push into new market areas and get much more expansion. So I would suggest that combo.
I love it. And I want to add something to that from your
Yes.
courses as well, because what I see with people who are wanting to attract more clients is what people will often think they need to do is get better at posting on Instagram.
Yes.
Or get better at, social media. And it's just like, that is like certainly not how I grew my business, because it didn't exist for a start. And Facebook was not a way to attract new clients. So the way I did it was like referrals. And actually I had really good SEO because I started my business in 2009. So I
Social media as being the only way to market. So the next time I saw her, I was like, how did it go? Because she actually did the thing. And she was like, fully booked, just so booked. It was so busy. I'm like, who would have thought? Who would have thought? There are literally thousands of ways to market your business. And remember that businesses have operated long before social media and have had an incredible growth trajectory. And there's still like social media marketing is just the tiniest piece of the puzzle. And yet it seems to take up everybody's like complete 100% marketing time and budget, when really you need to be looking at all the thousands of marketing options out there and working out like, oh, what is actually going to get me some results? And you just test and play, see what gets you results. And often they're going to be faster, more effective, cheaper, way less time.
I think anytime you can find yourself in a conversation with somebody, or it's more direct or it's more local, it's often going to be better. So marketing without social media is the course to look for in the academy as well.
I go on and on about this in Marketing Without Social Media, which gives you hundreds and hundreds of marketing options without using social media, because it's really important we master those skills.
Right. And it can sometimes just be a reminder. You think, oh, flyers. Do people still do flyers? Well, guess what? A lot of people don't anymore. So you're going to cut through more easily than posting on social media to people who could be anywhere in the world. But if your business is locally based, or even if it's not, you might find it easier to attract people in your local environment.
Completely. I love when I get like letter drops from handyman and or like magnet drops, like there's like little fridge magnets and shit like that. We have crap tons on the fridge, and we will use people from there rather than searching on stuff. And I think as well, people are definitely way more scam resistant to like, if you post on social media, like I just see so many in our local community group people like commenting under it going, this person's a scammer, like this person doesn't show up, yeah, because they're just fishing on community pages.
Oh my gosh. Right. Next, if you want to grow your business, right? So
Mm.
you've reached a certain level and maybe you do have enough clients at this point. Like maybe you're maxed out with clients. What do you recommend at this point?
So one, there's a workshop in there called How to Not Burn Out.
Mm.
And because that's going to be really, really important and really about like setting those boundaries. And you want to start improving your system. So we've got like standard operating procedures, templates to help you build out to make it like a more resilient business that's not just reliant on you. When you want to bring in your first staff or a support, we've got how to hire and manage a VA. So those are really important. If you're really maxed out and you want to start moving into more passive income streams, there's 40 days to finish a book, which can be really useful for creating a lead magnet for your work, and then 40 days to create and sell your e-course as well, so that you have like a passive income product and people can start purchasing that instead of your time, and really opening up that abundance stream, because you can sell to thousands of people when you can only, teach one-on-one.
And may I say on that, if you're booked out with clients, you have such a good opportunity to create and sell a course. And doing it quickly will actually be easier for you if you can get yourself some time back, because you are talking to people all the time. You've got clients all the time who are telling you their various different problems and issues, and you can kind of really get a lot of clarity on what it is that people most need. And if you're working with a lot of people, that's a great deal of trust in your community. And I know that when I used to work with a lot of people, if I launched something, I would always have 5-figure launches, because, and without a great deal of, additional extra marketing activities, because there was just so many warm people in my audience and I knew them so well. So I think thinking about that as well, and really taking that path of ease of like, okay, how can I do this the most efficient way, rather than spending a year creating something that's 6 months long or whatever.
Mm. And like, I think as well, when you find yourself getting maxed out time-wise, I've got a program called Work Less, Earn More, and that can really help you kill off a lot of like the busy shit on your task as well.
Yeah, and the mindset shift that needs to happen around that, 'cause it can be very pervasive. And I know I went through that myself for years, actually, and we've discussed this of just like that can be a real weak spot for me to lean back into more one-on-one work, because it just feels safer and it's just so beautiful and I enjoy it. And if I do that, however, I don't get the opportunity to grow the business in other ways.
Yeah, and also like for you to become like more of a public figure and like touch more people with your work. Like I'm so passionate about you like really claiming your expert status, because you really are, in my perspective, which is the only right one, I think you are Australia's leading kinesiologist, and I think you're one of the world's leading kinesiologists on especially in developing success, and the right habits for like entrepreneurial success.
Thank you. Beautiful. So finally, I want to ask you, like, if someone's established, let's just think about, someone like you or someone's building to the level you're at, how can they do that? And what are the tools that maybe even you go to? Like when you hit up against little stumbling blocks or mindset pieces, like what can they seek out in the academy?
So Midas Touch would be really, really useful. That's a brand new program. And that one's more of a channeled work. It's a little bit different because usually I focus so much on practical stuff, but this is really about that mindset shift and opening yourself up to another level of abundance. I also have the program Money Manifesting in Multiple Streams of Income. And once you've gotten good with creating one stream of income, like it might be time to start looking at adding other ones in there as well. And also making sure that you've got a really strong container to hold the money that you've got coming in. Because I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they're like, at some point they get good at bringing in the money, and then like their energetic container for holding it in the company or personally is really, really leaky. And so they end up spending just as much. Their expenses get very, very high. And so being a really good custodian of money is a really important part of the puzzle. And so for so many of us who create success in our lives, we aren't born into money, and we don't really have a huge amount of financial literacy, because one, we're not really taught it in our culture. It's a very like secretive kind of thing. It's very much like it can still be a boys' culture. Um, and so it's really important for us in kind of more marginalized communities to learn those financial skills so that we can be really amazing custodians and hold that wealth for ourselves, to create really sustainable success.
Yeah, so transferring that ability to make money into that ability to create and hold wealth and to create that long-term success, because you do see that sometimes whereby people might be able to know how to make a lot of money in a month or in a year, but they need to keep on doing that
Yeah.
indefinitely to sustain what it is that they've created. And that's not what long-term wealth is.
It's not. And also like learning the skill of how to make your money make more money. Because like it was only like maybe 4 years ago that I learned that skill. And I was like, oh, it
Wow.
would have been so useful 15 years ago.
Yes. And I think it's like knowing as well, once you get to those higher levels, like there are just so many inherent risks as well when if your mindset is off, if your energy is off, and making sure you get that right external support. So I'll even say like working with somebody like me can be incredibly powerful at that stage of your journey, because also you need to keep focused on what makes a happy life, what makes a rich life, because the money piece might be there now. But how can I keep that balanced with everything else in my life? And how can I avoid the kind of making mistakes or taking undue risks because maybe I've gotten a bit bored, or maybe I'm not managing my mindset at the moment, or maybe I'm really emotional about something. And then it's like, I want to burn something down. It's like, hang on a second, is that really what you want to do? And ensure you've got somebody in your corner who can just help you stay oriented on what it is that you really want.
Exactly. And like, I did 10 years of having a healer in my corner in my business. And, I worked with you and Hiraboga, for many, many years. And it was amazing. And I just learned so much. And then I got to a point maybe 5-ish years ago, and I'd done 10 years, and I was like, I've got this now, guys. I'll just do life and business on my own terms. I've got life sorted. And I did. And like, it was totally fine for me to learn all those lessons. But then like 4 years in, I was like, oh, I seem to have gotten myself quite mired in my own muck, and I could not work out a way to get out of it. And thankfully, my two assistants had a little bit of an intervention on me. They were like, hey, babes, we notice you seem to be quite stuck in your own loops, and we need to know, like, are you going to therapy? And I was like, look, I tried cognitive behavioral therapy last year, and I just found it made me fixate more. The only thing that's ever really worked for me is the hippie stuff, like kinesiology and intuitive healing. And one of my assistants has a psychology degree, which is very helpful. And she was like, that is completely valid. And also, people who are neurodivergent do often get fixated when it comes to cognitive behavioral therapy. It works perfectly for neurotypicals, but neurodivergent can have the opposite effect. And I was like, huh. So it was just a really beautiful lesson for me of like, I need to really be aware of what works for me and give myself that unconditionally and let go of, because I somehow managed to build up a belief that I should be able to manage everything myself, you know. And I remember you telling me when I'd come back, and you said, Leonie, like when people are like, when you've got a public profile, when you're running a bigger business, you do need someone in your corner because you have that many more projections and energy stuff coming at you. So of course you're going to need somebody in your corner to help you deal on that front. So I think just like regarding it now was just like, oh, it's just an essential now, has been really helpful for me as an entrepreneur.
Amazing. I think exactly what you said at the end there was like really interesting to hear, and like for everyone who's listening to hear that as well. It's like, yeah, as the business grows, and if you do reach those, bigger levels of business and bigger levels of impact, it does come with a lot of energy. It comes with a lot of projections, comes with a lot of decision making, and you need to find your ways to have ongoing support for that. So I do see sometimes people will be like, I'll just get it when I need it. And it's like, it creates this what can be an unnecessary loop where it's like, I'm fine, or I'm not fine, quickly book something in, I'm fine, now I'm not fine. And it's like, you don't have to be in that cycle. My clients, and it can be with me or other people, of course, as well, but my clients who book in regularly, whether that's weekly or fortnightly or monthly, they don't go through those cycles in the same way, because it's such, they always know in the back of their mind, I've got that coming up and I can deal with that then.
It's true. It's even like, if I know that I have an osteopath appointment booked, I'm in less pain, because I'm like, it's okay. We're just gonna wait till Wednesday, babes.
Yeah.
And I'm going through like a big launch at the moment. I ended up saying to you, like, can we just do weekly, because I don't want to fuck myself up in this process, babe. So we're meeting weekly at the moment, and then we'll go back to fortnightly, and then it'll be nice.
And a lot of my clients will do that. They just will get really adept at recognizing I'm in a big season, and what's the cost if I don't look after myself? And then as compared to the cost of actually looking after myself, which can then be reflected in the level of income that I'm able to make through that period, because I've chosen to take care of myself.
Yeah. I think working with you this year's just kind of been the best self-care I could have done. Like, we've just had so many mystical, magical experiences, which have really helped me like reconnect with my own magic again. And it's just been incredible. Like, I just love you so much.
Oh, I love you too. It's been such a joy. Thank you so much for being with me here today, answering those amazing questions. If you're not in the academy, join now. If you join by the end of November, it's going to be $99. If you join after that, it's $199. And either way, it's just such incredible value for money. And as you can hear, there's just so much in it. And even though Leonie has mentioned a number of different courses and workshops, there's actually, like, I want to say hundreds.
Yeah, so end of next year, there'll be 100 individual workshops. We've got 50 in there at the moment, and then the monthly coaching calls as well.
Yeah, amazing. It's just such an incredible place to be.
Oh, thanks, my love.
So how did you go? I hope you loved that episode. I hope you have something really tangible to take away. And before you move on with your day, really reflect on, what action am I going to take now or soon to move my business forward? And if that action is to join the academy, I have the link to that in the show notes. As you know, I totally recommend it, and there's just so much in there. But also, don't get overwhelmed by that. You don't have to do it all at once, but you will really discover that when you have a business question, a lot of those business questions can be answered by the workshops and courses that Leonie has created. I love how she makes things very practical, very actionable. Like, just think about those two titles: 40 days to your finished book, 40 days to create and launch a podcast. Of course, you can do them on a longer time frame if you want. But the point is, Leonie really supports you to get into action and to execute on your brilliant ideas. I would love to hear what you thought of the episode. Jump across to Instagram and tell me at Kerry Rowett, and I'll see you next time.